Hello and welcome. I'm Bimbo Oluede. Tonight, Commonwealth to collaborate with Nigeria in nation building. The president goes tough on corrupt officials, says those who plundered Nigeria will be tried in a matter of weeks. Boko Haram wreaks havoc on traders in Damboa market. Eyewitness says 50 lost their lives. Fragments of suspected Russian missile system found at flight MH17 crash site in Ukraine.
Tonight, the central bank says all eligible requests for foreign currency will be granted at the official and interbank exchange rate.
And on sports news tonight, Athletics Federation of Nigeria picks 17 athletes for the IAAF World Championships in Beijing.
We begin tonight in Abuja, where President Muhammadu Buhari says that the prosecution of persons who allegedly stole Nigeria's national resources will start from next week. The president spoke during a meeting with the National Peace Council headed by former head of state Abdulsalami Abubakar. Mr. Buhari said Nigeria has to break this vicious cycle before the nation can make progress. And after the meeting, the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto State, Bishop Matthew Kuka, briefed journalists on the discussions with President Buhari. He says the Peace Committee has a role to play in the sustenance of peace in the period following the general elections. Our State House correspondent, Chukuma Onwekusi, has the report.
The presidential election has come and gone, but if you thought that the National Peace Committee, headed by General Abdulsalami Abubakar, ought to have been dissolved, having successfully brokered peace at that period of near chaos, you may be wrong. The general and his men met with President Buhari on how to nurture the peace their committee got for the country.
This Father Bishop Kuka will tell you what we are here for.
The general may not talk to State House correspondents, but mandated Bishop Kuka to speak on behalf of the Peace Committee on why they are here.
We've come here just to have further conversations with the president to get a bit of updates about the relevance of the Peace Committee itself and how we can help to nurture what God has given to us.
This meeting is coming at a time there are reports that the former president may have sought the intervention of the National Peace Committee following the moves by the successor to probe the past administration.
President Jonathan never, by telephone or by any other means, sought to see the committee. We went to see him, but that was after we had already seen members of the political parties. We saw a few members of civil society. We planned to see the speaker because we couldn't see him yesterday. So this was a very planned, series of intervention, essentially just to hear out everybody. And I think that the good news is that Nigerians are committed to a new nation. They were committed to ensuring that the gains and the blessings God has given us, come to fruition.
The committee also has something to say on the present administration's stance on the fight against corruption, indicating that they are not against government stance, but that the right process should be followed.
I don't think any Nigerian is against, is in favor of corruption or is against, the president's commitment to ensuring that we turn a new page. I think what we're concerned about genuinely is process. This is a democracy. It's no longer a military regime, and that under our existing laws, everybody is innocent until he's proven guilty. So again, our commitment, as I said, is not to intimidate or to frighten anybody. The president, the former president's commitment and what he did still remains spectacular. I think that President Buhari himself and everybody else appreciates that. So our effort really is to make sure that the right thing is done.
The National Peace Committee is happy that the presidency has sought for the continuation of their work, as they will be needed when the need arises to build confidence in the democratic process. Chukuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Nigeria is a pillar of strength to the Commonwealth. That's coming from the Secretary General of the body, Ambassador Kamila Sharma. He told President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa today that the Commonwealth will help to build Nigeria and strengthen the country to provide more opportunities for its indigents. He then congratulated Nigeria on the electoral process that brought President Muhammadu Buhari to power.
The purpose of my visit was to offer my personal congratulations and partnership from the Commonwealth in the various areas of nation building which are foreseen by the Honorable President and his government moving forward, and on which he has made public pronouncements. Institution strengthening, a lot of training opportunities, debt software which we can offer. So it was agreed that we will move forward in exploring all of these areas. It was also my purpose during my visit to brief the Honorable President on the preparations that are underway for the Commonwealth Head of Governments meeting, which is going to take place in Malta in November this year, and I was able to do that.
A blast at a market in Borno State, northeastern Nigeria, has killed at least 50 people and injured 52 others. The explosion occurred in a region where hundreds of people have been killed in attacks by suspected members of militant Islamist group Boko Haram in the last few weeks. A source at the General Hospital, Biu, said that more than 40 people have been brought in from the bomb blast. The explosion occurred at Sabon Gari Market in Damboa local government area of Borno State this afternoon, while the market was in full swing. In the meantime, Channels Television's Borno State correspondent, Blessing Tuno, says there is ongoing shelling in the city of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, which has thrown residents into panic and confusion. Soldiers around the Giwa barracks area have ordered residents to keep off the streets and stay at home. The spokesperson of the 7th Division in Maiduguri, Colonel Tukur Gusso, says the shelling is in Shuwari, a nearby village where a military operation is currently ongoing. The operation is coming after an afternoon explosion was reported in a market in Damboa local government, where more than 40 traders are feared dead. Maiduguri town has been awash with speculations of an impending attack on the city since the Damboa incidents reports filtered into town. And the Borno State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Remi Opadokun, has confirmed the attack at the Sabon Gari Market in Damboa. CP Opadokun said a suspected male suicide bomber with an IED strapped to his body detonated it in the open market. Although he was silent on the number of people killed, the Borno State Commissioner of Police said about 30 were injured. He advised people in Maiduguri to set up vigilante groups in places where there is no civilian joint task force to screen people entering markets, mosques, churches, or any other large gathering. He added that any suspected suicide bomber or sponsor arrested should be handed over to the nearest police station or security post. The United States remains Nigeria's closest partner in the country's campaign against Boko Haram. In an interview with Channels Television, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. James Entwistle, re-emphasized relations between the two, clearing the notion that the United States, for a period of time last year, pulled back support from Nigeria. Ambassador Entwistle also says the U.S. will continue to support Nigeria's fight against insurgency, despite the Amnesty International report on the violation of human rights because of Nigeria's commitment to reviewing the report.
We have been steady, consistent partners ever since the Chibok girls were abducted and even long before that. Again, no partner is doing more to help against Boko Haram. That has been the case for some time now. That will continue. In fact, during President Buhari's excellent visit to Washington, we had intense discussions about this, what his plans were, what he hoped to do, so that we could take a hard look at ways that we could help him as he tries to ramp up even more against Boko Haram. This talk about how we've lifted an arms embargo is nonsense. There was never an arms embargo. The notion that somehow the Leahy Amendment, which requires us to take human rights into consideration all over the world in our military assistance programs, is no impediment to our program. There's a lot of stuff kicking around out there that's just unhelpful. We have a good military relationship. We hope it will improve as we see exactly what President Buhari wants to do. So again, no one will do more to help against Boko Haram than the United States.
So the U.S. has no problems with the Amnesty International reports that Nigerian troops are violating human rights in the northeast of the country?
We are ready to help continue helping the Nigerian military. That's always been the case. But as we do that, we have to look at the individuals involved. Do they have human rights problems, that kind of thing. Sometimes when we're doing Leahy Amendment vetting for human rights considerations, we come across people who we can't approve, and we have to go back and say, look, can you give us some other candidates? But again, these are things that we take into consideration, but they don't prevent us from having a very productive military relationship. I must say, though, that I think the response of President Buhari to the Amnesty International report has been absolutely correct. He said, as president, as a former military man, we take these things very seriously. We will look into them. We will conduct our own investigations. That's exactly the right response, and I applaud him for that.
In part two, after the break, National Emergency Agency speaks on disaster management. Do join us again.